Hi, Barton Jones here, and today we're going to go over a little bit about ladder inspections. When you go into a restaurant, especially when you're doing a workplace safety audit, you need to know how to do an inspection so you can identify the problems with a ladder, if there aren't any, and advise the client of those problems. First thing you want to do when you get a ladder, typically what you're going to see is a step ladder, and that's anything that looks like an A-frame ladder. And to use a step ladder, you have to open it. Typically to open it, you push it out, and you'll see these spreaders. These spreaders are what need to be locked in place. Push down on them, they lock in place. If they don't lock in place, that's an issue. It's a violation of the ladder standard as well as everything else. Second, make sure that when you lock those in place that all 4 feet are on the ground. If all 4 feet aren't on the ground, again, the ladder is hazardous and needs to be replaced. Next thing you want to do is check your labels. There are requirements on labels for ladders. Specifically, it's this requirement that gives you the rating of the ladder, the type of ladder it is, and its capacity. That has to be there, it has to be legible, and it will always, somewhere on it, say ANSI A14. If it says ANSI A14.5, we're talking about a step ladder. Next thing I typically do in an inspection is I start from the bottom up. And when I start from the bottom up, what I'm talking about first is checking the shoes. The shoes of a ladder are these non-slip feet or shoes that go on the bottom of each rail on each side of the ladder. These have to be slip resistant, and there has to be enough tread there to be slip resistant. Typically here too, I'll check on the fasteners. Sometimes these shoes will have fasteners that go up underneath the bottom, and if any of that fastener is showing through past the end of the tread, that's a slip hazard and another violation. Then typically what I'll do is I'll check the cross braces here, and you're checking for each fastener, each rivet, to make sure that it's there and it's not loose. And then I will slide my hands up the sides. As I go forward, I want to make sure I'm checking the rails here, the steps here, as well as the rails, for any deformity, any cracks, any breaks. Also making sure that these steps are also clean and going up. The next thing I'm going to check is this label here on the step right before the top. It should say danger, do not stand on or above this step. That is also a requirement from OSHA. If it's not there, they can get another one that says that. You don't have to take the ladder out of service for that, but you do need to bring it to their attention. The next thing you need to do is check the cap. The cap has to make sure you check all of the fasteners to make sure that it's there. Also, typically, this is when I'll step on the first step to look at the top of it to make sure there's no cracks. Okay? This is another way to also check that the ladder is stable when the spreaders are locked out. And then I will go around and do the same to the other side. Just understanding that the backside of most step ladders, especially the 6-foot kind, are not steps themselves. They are just cross braces. But if there's any damage, any bending, any cracking to those, again, you have to take the ladder out of service. If you find any damage in the items that I've mentioned, you have to take the ladder out of service until it's repaired or replaced. If it is to be repaired, it has to be repaired with manufacturer's equipment to the manufacturer's specifications. Sometimes that takes so long, people will just buy a new ladder. But knowing these things about a ladder, you'll be able to tell if it's safe and be able to educate the client on what they need to look for on their ladders. Ladders are supposed to be inspected by law before every use, at least to the level that I just did.